Imagine a paradise island where nature has lived in harmony for centuries. Lush subtropical forests, exotic birds, unique animals found nowhere else. But in this earthly paradise, a deadly danger lurked. Poisonous snakes whose bites claimed dozens of lives each year. What could be scarier, you might ask? But one day, an uninvited guest arrived on the island, and a real ecological catastrophe began, the consequences of which are still felt today. And we'll tell you how this small, furry creature nearly destroyed an entire island and at what cost people managed to correct this fatal mistake. Picture a heavenly corner, a subtropical island covered with lush forests, home to unique species of animals and plants. This was Amami Oshima before people decided to interfere with the natural course of things. It all started with a seemingly noble goal, to protect the locals from dangerous snakes. For many years, the venomous habu snakes terrorized the islanders. Their bites were not just painful, they posed a deadly threat. In 1980, the statistics were truly horrifying. About 400 people were bitten, and some, alas, did not survive. The situation demanded an urgent solution. It seemed the answer was obvious. An effective antidote needed to be developed. But it wasn't that simple. The liquid form of the medicine required special storage conditions which simply didn't exist in remote villages. And it was in these villages where most accidents occurred. Local authorities found themselves in a stalemate. Bring electricity to every corner of the island? Too expensive and time-consuming? Create a new antidote? Who knows if it was even possible? And then someone came up with what seemed like a brilliant idea at the time. What if they brought an animal to the island that wasn't afraid of snake venom and actually enjoyed eating snakes? Sounds like the perfect solution, doesn't it? And so, the main character of our story entered the stage, the small red mongoose. In 1979, a small group of these creatures, about 30 individuals, arrived on Amami Oshima. Their mission was clear: rid the island of habu snakes, and while they were at it, deal with the rats. After all, in their native India, Bangladesh, and other Asian countries, mongooses were famous as excellent hunters of cobras and rodents. At first, it seemed the plan had worked. The mongooses quickly adapted to their new home and began to breed rapidly. By 1993, their population had grown so much that the Ministry of Environment sounded the alarm. By 2000, about 10,000 of these agile predators were inhabiting the island. But here's the catch. They weren't interested in the habu snakes at all. Despite all their hunting talents, the mongooses preferred easier prey. Why risk hunting a venomous snake when there were plenty of tasty and harmless rabbits, mice, and birds around? And then it became clear that good intentions had led to catastrophic consequences. The mongooses turned out to be a real disaster for the local ecosystem. They happily feasted on rare species of animals that simply weren't prepared for the appearance of such an aggressive predator. A unique species, the Amami rabbit, a true living fossil, was threatened with extinction. These amazing creatures are the last representatives of an ancient genus of Asian rabbits that once inhabited the mainland. Now they can only be found on 2 tiny islands, and the mongooses became their worst nightmare. Other endemic species didn't fare well either. Ryukyu rats, several bird species, all found themselves on the brink of extinction. In just 20 years, the habitat of some small animals shrank by almost half. But that's not all. The mongooses didn't limit themselves to wildlife. They became a real scourge for local farmers. Poultry farms were ravaged, fruit orchards were plundered, and to top it all off, these little bandits turned out to be excellent carriers of various diseases. It became obvious that the situation had spiraled out of control. Urgent action was needed, otherwise the unique ecosystem of the island could be irreversibly damaged. And so the Japanese government decided to correct the mistake made a quarter of a century ago. In 2000, a large-scale program to reduce the mongoose population was launched. It was a real war in which all possible means had to be used. At first, they tried a simple method, setting traps along the roads. But the cunning creatures quickly saw through this trick. Then the heavy artillery was brought in, specially designed traps that couldn't harm other animals, toxic baits and ingenious attractants that lured mongooses by smell. Even specially trained dogs were enlisted in the hunt. The local residents didn't stand idly by either. From 2005, real mongoose hunting squads operated on the island. Volunteers combed the forests and mountains in search of the furry troublemakers. The struggle was long and hard. It took almost 25 years to completely clear the island of the invasive species. About 32,000 individuals were caught. And finally, in 2018, the last case of a mongoose capture was recorded. There have been no new encounters since then. It was a real victory. Japan had achieved what no other country had managed, completely eradicating the mongoose population on such a large island. Experts were thrilled. Well, except for the mongooses themselves, of course. But what about the snakes that started it all? As it turns out, while people were fighting the mongooses, the problem of habu bites gradually resolved itself. By 2020, the number of cases had decreased to 60 per year. And most importantly, since 1992, not a single fatal case has been recorded. The fact is that people learned to live alongside their dangerous neighbors. Antidotes became more accessible, and effective prevention methods were developed. It turned out that the snakes weren't as scary as they were made out to be. The story of Amami Oshima Island has become a real lesson for the whole world. It showed how dangerous, thoughtless interference in natural processes can be. Even the best intentions can lead to catastrophic consequences if all possible risks are not considered. But this case also demonstrates that even the most complex problems can be solved if we act together and don't give up. It took the Japanese almost half a century to correct their mistake, but they succeeded. Today, Amami Oshima is once again becoming a paradise where rare species of animals and plants can live without fear. But the work is not finished yet. Mongooses still inhabit other Japanese islands, including Okinawa. And now, armed with the experience of Amami Oshima, ecologists are preparing for new battles to preserve the natural balance. So the next time you want to bring an exotic animal into your garden to fight pests, remember the story of the mongooses on Amami Oshima. Sometimes the best solution is to let nature take its course, only slightly adjusting its path, rather than trying to completely change the natural order of things. For now, let's be happy for the residents of Amami Oshima, who can finally walk safely around their beautiful island without fearing either venomous snakes or overactive mongooses. And maybe someday, we'll be able to visit this amazing corner of the planet and see with our own eyes how nature restores its lost balance.